Hello, Two Brain YouTube audience. I am Jay Cohen, owner of Locomotion Fitness in Charleston, South Carolina, longtime Two Brain business client, here to talk to you about how to build the business of your dreams that serves you, your employees, your members, to create a rich life. So before I get going, don't forget, hit that subscribe, like button. Today, I'm gonna talk to you about some books. This was inspired by the end of year book list that you see, one of which was done by Chris Cooper, founder, CEO of Two Brain Business. My recommendations are gonna be a little bit different. These are things that helped me specifically this year, and I wanna share those things with you. If you are not a reader, I really encourage you to carve out some time to figure out some way to take in new information that helps you. Maybe that's a YouTube video. I've seen a lot of authors now are creating books that are like videos that are a condensed version of their books. Mike Michalowicz, for example, just dropped a Profit First version of a YouTube video of his book to explain the system. So maybe if you're not a reader, you could watch the video, or of course, Audible or an audio book service in general is a great tool if you drive a lot. You can listen to books or just go old school and read. So I'm going to talk about 5 books today that will change the course of your business if you read them. And that's why it's so important to carve out this time. This knowledge was accrued by these authors over years and years, and sometimes it's their life's work. And they're offering it to you in a neat little package that costs $20 at the most. So fork over the cash, spend the time, it's worth it. First one I'm going to talk about today is Vivid Vision. And Vivid Vision is by Cameron Herold. We were fortunate enough in the Tinker program to have Cameron come in and talk to us directly. And he leads what's called the COO Alliance. So this is a program that is designed for number 2s. The big number 2s, right? Like the Starbucks number 2, for example. One of the things that Cam talks about is this Vivid Vision, which is creating a document that is going to tell everyone about your business and what it looks like for me in 2024. So we created this document in January of this year. I did a staff retreat. I got a cabin in the woods. We were there for 3 days. Most of it was fun, playtime, but then we spent about a 4-hour block really coming up with the bones of this. And then I went in and wrote it. And then I had a designer come behind me and make it look really beautiful. I use this now hiring staff. I will give them a copy of my Vivid Vision and I say, tell me what you would do to get me to this vision in 2024. How are you gonna help me get there? I've used it with banks looking for money, right? I can give this to them and say, this is the direction that I'm headed. This is my vision and I need some capital to get there. Basically, anyone that I'm interacting with, this wows them. It blows them away. It gives them some real feel good because we've clearly thought about where we are, what we're doing, and the direction that we're headed. So that first one, Vivid Vision, definitely give that a shot. It is hugely impactful for your business. Will also provide a ton of clarity for yourself and for your staff. Next up, kicking it back, old school, we've got Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This is an annual read for me. I read this once a year. This particular translation is by Gregory Hayes, and I like this one a lot because it modernizes a little bit of the language without losing a lot of the flavor of what Marcus Aurelius wrote. Those of you that are not familiar, Marcus was an emperor for the Roman Empire back in the day, and he is one of the classic Stoics. And so this book doesn't have a direct translation to fitness, or business for that matter, but it is going to provide you an operating system with which you can run your life. It teaches you how to worry about controlling the things that you can control and letting go of things that are outside of your control. And it teaches you the tenets of Stoicism, perception, action, and will, and your ability to not be pushed around by outside circumstances in your life, right? If something happens, if a coach comes to you and says, I am leaving the gym today, not giving you 2 weeks, and they are a huge piece of your business, and they're taking 100 clients of your 200 clients with them, you've got two choices. You can freak out, get angry, and throw a temper tantrum, which is going to serve no one and get you no closer to your end game. Or you can decide that that is a gift and that person was not the right person and they are detracting from your business anyway. So ultimately, that choice is yours with anything that comes in front of you. And Marcus Aurelius does an amazing job in Meditations to highlight that. Next up, staying with sort of the Stoic philosophy realm, we've got Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. So Ryan sort of is one of the key guys that brought Stoicism to front and center in our current day and age. It all started with The Obstacle is the Way. You've probably heard of that one before. That is also a Ryan Holiday book. Stillness is the Key has a different flavor. It's not talked about nearly as much as some of his other books, like Ego is the Enemy is another one you hear a lot about. But in my opinion, this one is just as good. And really the deal here is, I've talked to you guys about this before. You have to create space to think and to let your muddy brain settle so that you can get that clear water and have some clarity in your mission, vision, and purpose. You can think about different ways to achieve the goals in your business. If you're just stuck in the day-to-day, we get this tunnel laser vision. And we can't see outside of the box. And it leads to doing things like everyone else is doing, which if you're doing what everybody else is doing, no one's gonna notice you. So finding the time to get still, and he just uses a ton of great stories on how highest of high achievers, John F. Kennedy, for example, was able to create the space that he needed in something like the Cuban Missile Crisis to make sure that he was acting how he wanted to show up and not just letting this outside circumstances dictate that because he was constantly needing to move too fast and do this thing and that thing and the other. He needed to take a second to slow down and get clear. So Stillness is the Key, Ryan Holiday. Next up, we've got, speaking of getting different, this is a recent one. This one just snuck in because I just finished reading it about a week and a half ago. Mike Michalowicz, Get Different. And again, this is another author that we had the benefit of talking to in the Tinker program. If you've heard of Profit First, Mike Michalowicz is the author. Pumpkin Plan, Mike Michalowicz is the author. So a lot of stuff that we talk about in Two Brain comes from Mike anyway. This book is incredible for thinking outside of the box. I am of the belief that in the fitness space, social media is getting very, very tough to differentiate yourself. Everyone is on social media trying to get their clients. And even if you tweak things a little bit here or there or come up with a different offer, it's really just incrementally different. In Get Different, Mike talks about some incredible ways to think outside of the box and to run tests, to try marketing that doesn't scale. For example, in my neighborhood where I am, we have this giant duck. It's like a 10-foot duck that moves around the different water. We've got a lake, we've got some rivers that run through my neighborhood. And nobody knows who moves this duck or where it comes from. But when it moves, it's a giant big deal in my neighborhood. So I had the idea, why can't I buy a duck and move it around a little bit? And so I bought a duck. It's not 10 feet, it's 5 feet. And I wrote on it in a chalk marker, before. And then I posted in our neighborhood group, check out the duck before he started training to get to the swims that he goes on in the duck pond. So I tied it into the gym. It blew up, and we've had like 10 intros from this stupid inflatable duck that I put out in front of the gym. A lot of times we try and say that we're like the Cheers of gym businesses. So another idea that I haven't tested yet is I'm going to get the Cheers theme song and I'm going to blast it through a loudspeaker outside during a time when there's a farmer's market going on. I don't know if people are going to like it. They might hate it, but it's something that I'm going to try. So this book, Get Different, really opens up and gives you some different opportunities to market in ways that you can get through to your ideal clients because there's much less noise. So Get Different by Mike Michalowicz. Next on the agenda, and lastly, is one of my favorites, Jocko Willink, another author that we had the benefit of talking to. He was at the Two Brain Summit last year. You've probably heard of Extreme Ownership. If not, that's where I would encourage you to start. That is an incredible book about taking ownership of anything and everything that happens in your life. As the entrepreneur, you are responsible. If your staff did something that they shouldn't have done, that's not on them, that's on you ultimately. And that's what Extreme Ownership talks about. Leadership strategies and tactics is a field manual, is what Jocko calls it. So this is how to talk up and down the chain of command. I was in the Marine Corps, and so we need to talk down the chain, meaning as the business owner, I need to talk to my staff, and it talks about how to do that in the most effective ways, how to be a leader and make sure that people are taking the actions that you want to take. On the flip side, there's a ton of good tips in here. So I had my whole staff read this book because there are a ton of good tips in here about how to come back up the chain. So how they should be sending messaging up to me and who they should go to first and how those messages should come so that their communication is effective back down to me. And the cool thing about this book is that you don't have to read it front to back. You go into the table of contents, you find an area that would be helpful for you, you read that section, and then, maybe do that before a hard conversation, and then you're going to be much better prepared when it is time to talk, maybe to a staff member or to a member or something like that. So those are the 5 books that I loved this year. I would love for you in the comments, give me some more books that you really enjoyed this year. And let's start a conversation, talk about them, share them. The more knowledge, the better as far as I'm concerned. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. Again, my name is Jay Cohen here for you with Two Brain Business. Don't forget, subscribe, like, so that you don't miss any of our stuff. And I will see you soon.